Alright, today is Monday, April 25th, 2011, and today is a holiday in France, so it's very, very, very quiet here, and I don't have to do anything today, really. Just be a good girl and go to bed early, because I have to go out into the real world tomorrow and deal with life. Okay, now, I got a YouTube message just now. I was about to say email. I really prefer email. But I got this YouTube message, and I want to share this with you. It's by Weeping Willow 2. And she says, "Get coffee, pull up seat, and read the true story firsthand. Dear Truth Seekers friends, April 24th, 2011. As you know, I had recently contacted you about the ordeal my son, Greg A. Hicks, known as Greg Ga, and his fiancée, Rebecca P. Mugeot, known as Becky RPM, are facing in the state known as, or by Georgia. I am Carol L. Roberts, known as Carol, or CLR, his mother, a totally disabled injured worker, living on a meager income, having no funds, nor they, for launching any defense against the evil put upon us. Yet we all acknowledge ourselves to be a creation of the Almighty One, true God of the universe, being born free." I've been in touch with this lady for a while on YouTube. I really think she's definitely disabled, and she seems very nice. We exchange messages several times a week. Greg and Becky, as well as myself, are in imminent danger, which prompted my writing to you. I fear for our well-being and safety. I've been telling her I think that they're in a lot of trouble, to the point of our possibly being killed, murdered. In light of our country not being what we all thought it to be, who does one call for protection? Who does one call to discuss such matters? There be none to my knowledge save God. I have no one, which is why I am forced to relay the story problem onto you and to rely on you. You who were so kind to answer the call from a mother's heart, I thank those who have done so, as well as those which offered prayer, selling themselves short as though that were not doing enough, when certainly it offered much, and I humbly thank you all from the bottom, top, and inside of my heart. I shall forever be grateful and forever be indebted, but the time of foreboding cannot yet be dismissed. I write you good people in an effort, by the way, she uses caps. She has a vision problem, apparently. She's pretty disabled. Normally I don't like when people write in caps, but actually that doesn't bother me as much as the spelling and grammar do. You know how I am about that, people. Okay. I write you good people in an effort to secure for us some resemblance of protection, if it can be obtainable at all. Greg is and has been incarcerated in LaGrange, Georgia, Troup County Jail since December 2nd, 2010, without the ability or option to post bail due to child support warrants from our state of Kentucky, this being the cause of his seeking employment out of state. Per the state of our economy, those with momentary power dare to say, get a job, when their greed for financial gain has transferred all the jobs overseas. They then wish to jail thousands of fathers and mothers ordered to pay child support, but are forbidden the ability and opportunity to do so. It's ludicrous. The job was not worth the gas it took to get down there. They were on his journey back home. This was the initial reason they jailed him, as both he and I were told. His charges keep changing. The times on paperwork have been altered as best as he can tell. Additional charges without foundation have been accumulating. He was just recently charged with DUI while having already been incarcerated for nearly 5 months now. This would certainly have been addressed upon his being stopped had it been true. There were never any tests performed to substantiate such a charge, and certainly if any tests were to suddenly materialize, they would be highly suspect. The additional charges are no doubt being rendered due to his court-appointed attorney, Jamie Roberts, no relation, being fired due to her having told me that he was where he needed to be. What? And you call that defense? Nay. Being fired did not, however, prevent her from making an appearance before the court on his behalf, robbing him of his day in court, which is an unlawful action. You see, he was to have made an appearance, but they did not transport him to court. In fact, they refused to transport any incarcerated people. That particular scheduled day, he was to have appeared before the court. I was lied to, having been told they didn't have court that day, yet later I find out that they did in fact have court, just that no prisoners were brought before it, and that she had made an appearance on his behalf, knowing she had been fired by me, also knowing I was waiting for my written power of attorney, as my son had verbally given it to me over the phone. She entered a not guilty plea, taking his right to appear before the court, robbing him of his right to decline the Crown's representation after having accepted it when he was scared into it. He had planned to inform the court he was without legal counsel. This is when she took his right of appearance away in her pursuit and agenda to subject him under Admiralty maritime laws, whereby intimidation, threats of being tasered, and instilled fear are doled out as the norm of the day while incarcerated in Troup County, LaGrange, Georgia. I had a prisoner get on the phone with me this very afternoon, speaking of his case being similar to that of my son. I must ask, my God, what is going on here? Most of these prisoners cannot read or write. They have no one to give them a voice. I am prepared to fight to the death for my child if need be. I will not rest until he is set free and those entities are brought to justice for perpetrating far greater crimes, it appears, than those prisoners they have taken freedoms from. This is a travesty and miscarriage of justice, if ever I heard. Further, due to Greg having asked the court-appointed attorney to subpoena the dash cam of the arresting officers unit, which would prove an unwarranted illegal search was done in spite of his declining permission upon request, they then filed another charge onto the record, which was reckless driving. This is or was no doubt to give just cause for the officer performing an illegal search. A clear attempt to right his wrongs, as that charge was put on him within a day or two of his request. Too many things don't add up here, folks. Were you aware that America incarcerates more people than all countries combined? Did you also know that Georgia is the leading state for incarcerating people? Some down there are serving years, I'm talking years, for even having a small portion of pot or for missing a court date. This is evil. Do not go into Georgia is my strong recommendation. It is the worst state in the U.S. My efforts to save my son and his fiancée from the evil forces which prevail has opened a more perilous situation than ever imagined or fathomable, leastwise to this small-town girl. You may recall there was a recent national news story concerning gun running from Mexico into our country, wherein, if memory serves me, politics ran amok in it. My investigations in order to get my son and his fiancée freed has led to the discovery of a pattern of crimes perpetrated in the Peach State. I further add that in my view, and that of a few others, it leaves little to the imagination and far greater than meets the eye. The rabbit hole goes deeper than I could ever have imagined. I've recently been contacted by a news source which has 3 million listeners. He said he broke the story on my family situation a couple of days ago. Corruption, bribery, etc., with what's been uncovered or discovered and or told to me by those which have lived in the area or still do. Here's what is known. The criminal reporting newspaper, Troup County News, this is the one that reports nothing but criminals. The other is their local paper called the LaGrange Daily News. For a community with approximately 60,000, the arrests are so prevalent, I'd be surprised if there were anyone to walk, shop, or drive a car in their town. My own town being similar in size or more in population, I'd venture to say our annual illegal incarcerations, omitting the rare murder or person which caused property damage, would fall short of their intake for their haul in a day or a week's time frame. I can't believe this is being done to people, and I had no clue until my family was faced with this issue. Mexicans who are running drugs from Mexico are sometimes arrested or not, and or they are not held long. They pay their under-the-table get-out-of-jail money from their haul of drug running and or guns to the Sheriff Donnie Turner of LaGrange, Georgia, so says the county jailhouse talk. He just received $75,000 cash by a Mexican named Flavio Alvarez Sr., age 53, according to Alvarez himself. The name Alvarez is connected to the story of gun running, according to the reporter, which revealed this to me a couple of days ago. He had attested to being a former Marine in our first phone encounter. who had been at this reporting thing a while, which seemed to set him on edge, he hinted, but upon our second conversation, his having checked out the names I gave him, he commented as to what he may have gotten himself into. He could certainly drop the story, but informed me that he's brought in more people on this story to investigate. He had called the police chief, Moses Ector, who is the former director of the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, who, as you may also know, that it had its hand in covering the murder up of former Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer and her husband about a year ago, suspectedly due to her tell-all book naming names of crimes committed by elected officials as high as the governor of Georgia, judges and attorneys, also involving the Department of Child Welfare, Department, Services, etc., participating in child-related crimes of a sexual nature. I had been given this information by a news reporter, William Wagener, in California, who was a reporter in on the Michael Jackson trial. All I ever wanted was my son and his fiancée to be free and come home, because what has been done to them could also happen to any one of us. What's been done to them is nothing short of criminal. Having obtained power of attorney over my son's affairs and acting on his behalf, I sent out a de jure notice concerning common law under our Creator to the corporations. Within 2 days of doing so, the stalking began, as well as electronic harassment. An attorney general was kind enough, and in spite of a recent death in his family, had forwarded a 45-page lawsuit naming the corporation of the United States, naming each state as well. This is not for financial gain, but claiming our freedoms to what we as citizens thought we had and to be left alone. Well, my son, his fiancée, nor I wish any ill towards these misguided peoples, and do pray they will see the light, be conformed to the light, stepping out of darkness for their soul's sake, before it is too late. We only wish to live in harmony, love, peace, tranquility, and the pursuit of happiness. We hold no animosity towards anyone, and wish honor, peace, and love to all. We just want to get on with our lives and be left alone. Should that not be the case, and we are pursued unto death, the following peoples are involved: Chief of Police Moses Ector, former GBI Director of Hogansville, Georgia, who had informed the reporter to talk with his attorneys as he had nothing to say to the press. Officer Michael Callaway, black arresting officer, who let the two black hitchhikers go free when my son had been stopped for speeding. They were given access to the truck of the vehicle to store their belongings. Upon an illegal search, discovery of paraphernalia items, but no drugs were found. Becky saw the two hitchhikers toss something into the ditch, nor did he arrest them. He did, however, elect himself as judge and jury on Highway I-85 when he let the two passengers go, even giving them a lift to a gas station, and he never got their names. His exclamation to the court-appointed attorney, Jamie Roberts, was that black people don't normally mess with methamphetamine. My response to her was, "Are you kidding me?" Her response was, "No, I'm not kidding." My son and his fiancée were on their way back home from Mobile, Alabama from a union job. He stops to be kind to what appeared to be stranded motorists, and all this ensues. I doubt that if he's ever freed, he'll ever offer anyone help again. This has been and is a nightmare. I had initially questioned why these Mexicans were allowed bail at all until the big picture developed. It was to keep the money flowing into Georgia, particularly the cities of Hogansville and LaGrange. A direct path to both the former GBI Director, Police Chief Moses Ector, and Sheriff Donnie Turner of LaGrange, Georgia, both in Troup County. This letter herein names all those who played a role overtly in either the act of their incarceration or its continuance and or the condoning of their errors. With such an act of criminality, even Perry Mason would blush with frustration, yet they'd rather attempt to cover their wrongdoing by adding more charges in an attempt to erase or justify their wrongdoing than do the right, correct, and moral thing, wishing to push the envelope of the dark side's agenda. They should admit the error, dismiss all charges, and drop the matter. The police officer, Michael Callaway of Hogansville, Georgia, fabricated charges against Greg and Becky, having no foundational proof or evidence to substantiate the allegations against them. They have no proof the bag is linked to them. Excuse me, no fingerprints were taken off of it. as requested by my son, when the officer laughed at him, stating, "Well, I bet if I take prints, yours will be all over it." My son responding, "No, sir, they won't." Both Becky and Greg pleaded for them to perform hair follicle, urine, and blood tests to prove their innocence, but the police department refused their request. Could it be that it would have cleared them both of any wrongdoing? It would appear that since Officer Callaway dismissed the other two occupants of the vehicle without obtaining their names, no drugs, he quite possibly feels foolish, thereby due to pride and ego. He's hell-bent on making someone pay the price for what he has no case other than his fabrication and false charges. In order to save face with his club of terror, they have terrorized them both, threatened them both from the very moment of their having been pulled over, wielding a loaded gun with a touchy trigger in little Becky's face, a young lady who has never had a blemish on her record, having the gun from Greg's father for protection while Greg was at work. Greg, however, had been in trouble many years previous, paid his so-called debt to society. Where that incident occurred, he had not caused another harm, nor used a weapon, nor destroyed anyone's property. In fact, all that was done was against himself and no other. They stole years from his life, robbed his children of a relationship with their father, prevented his having a job and working within society to attain a decent standard of living, having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No one has the right to take that away from another person. I care not who they are. He worked hard, straightened his life out, went to college, got highly trained and certified in welding skills, has all certificates except underwater welding, but no work. I ask, how and where does that teach him a lesson? How the hell did, as well as this present situation, benefit society? Murderers get lighter sentences. Only my son and Becky are innocent. It's no wonder men and women who are unjustly sentenced, abused, and oppressed have attitudes when they get out. Plainly pissed off at those we were raised to admire, and in thinking they were our leaders working for the good of mankind and our communities, just to discover that they weren't out for the good of mankind but working for the greed of their own empires, saying to hell with the people. They were to strive to contribute good, sound judgment for all. The joke was on us. God forgive them and have mercy on their souls. I sincerely hope they change their ways and come into the light of love, wherefore my son had been, as is this present and latest scenario, unjustly imprisoned. Under common law, the only reasons to which a person may become imprisoned is having caused harm to another or property damage, but there are to be justly judged by common law people, not the corporations. I was forced to deal with the most rude as well as arrogant foreign agents such as the Crown accredited registry bar member attorney, to whom was under the guise of defense attorney. When I spoke with Jamie Roberts on behalf of my son Greg, this is to also include her declined court-appointed attorney Roger Montgomery, of whom I have not spoken with. Becky nor Greg are a part of the fictional law society. Here's the list of names involved directly. Sheriff Donnie Turner of LaGrange, Georgia, Troup County 706-883-1616. Hogansville, Georgia, Police Chief Moses Ector, former director of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, told press to speak to his attorneys, Assistant Chief of Police John Pearson, 706-637-6648. Arresting Officer Michael Callaway, a black making himself judge and jury, out on I-85, said to be Trapp County by its own citizens rather than what it's presently known as Troup County. Released 2 black passengers of the car, even gave them a ride to a gas station. Says blacks don't normally mess with meth. Sure they don't. Racial discrimination, racial profiling, tampering with evidence, possibly altering times on paperwork, illegal search, unlawful arrest, incarceration. District Attorney's DA Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Peter Skandalikis, Assistant Dominique Kirby, related wife to Judge Jack Kirby, Melissa Himes, Lee Titsworth, Linda S. Caldwell, 706-298-3708. Captain Brian Hadley, Mayor Frank Kirby, yes, another one named Kirby, growing into a family affair. Captain Marty Reeves, relative Carrie Reeves, sits on grand jury. Lieutenant Ellen Willingham, Shirley Williams, mail withholding, mail theft, mail copying of documents sent Greg and Becky, registered mail return receipt. Postmaster General of LaGrange, Georgia, an unknown mail carrier for Route 130, Sam Walker Drive, LaGrange, Georgia, mail tampering. Sergeant Ramon Ray Gates, Troup County, Georgia, City of LaGrange, Georgia, City of Hogansville, Georgia, Sergeant Chad Mann. Sergeant Kyle Lester screamed at me for asking his name. For the record, since I was calling on behalf of Greg with power of attorney, I suppose that was supposed to intimidate. Attorney Kenneth Ken Gordon bilks prisoners of $7,500 upfront cash, bragged to me that he has 18 clients, all in jail, and how he was willing to accept my son as number 19 per son's request. Upon my investigating him, I discovered he was a real estate attorney for Lone Oak Realty, apparently turned defense attorney when the housing market dried up. Graduated from some vague little school. He told me the DA will vouch for his reputation. I bet he would, buddy. Are you kidding me? Just because I lived in Kentucky, let's not assume I'm a stupid, naive hick. Vulture preying on the misery of others. I'm not a stupid, naive hick vulture preying on the misery of others. Lone Oak Realty recording states his name, 706-637-4558. Cell phone, 706-957-2994. Attorney Jamie Roberts, Attorney Roger Montgomery, Magistrate Vicky Sue McWaters, Notary Susan D. Whitley, refusing to perform seller, I don't know what that word is, sworn oath of office, delaying son's defense not once but twice, Judge Alan Keeble. My son and Becky appear today, April 25th, 2011, supposedly at 9 a.m., though I have every suspicion that Judge Keeble will postpone their hearing until after the courtroom is cleared of his other cases due to the high profile. This case, the high profile this case has grown or escalated into. For you see, both of these young adults are going to state the following. I here and now, in, on, and for the record, I speak. I'm a living, breathing, flesh and blood spiritual being of God, a sovereign being on the land, capable to handle my affairs under universal law. I do not need the court to appoint any foreign agent, such as Crown-accredited registry bar member attorney, to represent me, as I am not in the fictional law society. Are you making a claim on me, us, and our flesh and blood living soul, full body, to harm me, us, in any way? You may vacate this matter with just cause and with prejudice, as is my wish to be in peace, honor, and love for all. And I wish to leave now in that same light. What say you now in peace, honor, and love? Upon the conclusion of this statement to the court, if the judge dare answer yes to the question of causing harm, then he is subject to going to prison himself. If his answer is no, as it should be, then the case should be dismissed. If he chooses not to dismiss it and presses and upholds the unlawful incarceration, then a 45-page lawsuit will be filed directly. It's ready to go. I'm not at liberty to say who prepared it at present, nor who will pursue it once filed. It's in the works, I was told. There was a de jure jury notice served on all the above parties, to include the state of Georgia, the United States, the corporations et alia, the Pope, the Rothschilds, etc., etc. Sorry, I'm not laughing. It's not funny. There's noise outside, and this is a very long thing to share with you, okay? Now it is a wait and see. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat anticipating release. If you receive this early enough in the morning, I would ask of your prayers for In God We Trust. I thank you. Carol L. Roberts, also known as Weeping Willow 2 on YouTube.com, and there's her email address, weepingwillow2@yahoo.com. So she sent this out to a bunch of people, and I'm glad she spoke to William Wagener, and this is a very long video. As you can see, this is a very, very long message, which I've read to you, and I've kept it up on the screen. I know it's boring, but that's to show you that I'm reading from some real message that came to me, and I really don't know who sent this. I mean, I think I know who she is, but it's in another country and everything. So I guess I'm going to upload this, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what you think about this, and I'm going to think about it, I guess. You know, okay, have a good day. Bye.